Hello, welcome back. I'm Statman Dave. This is Full Time Devils, and we have got another huge debate for you guys to get stuck into. Voted, of course, by the Full Time Devils viewers. Should Mourinho be backed in January, and where should the money go? I'm, of course, joined by the one and only Stephen Howson, Adam McKola, and Jamie Jackson, the Manchester correspondent for The Guardian. Jamie, we were chatting before. You've got a bit of an alter ego, Jamie Paradise. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, basically, here's my fiction name, moniker. I've written a book called Nighttime Cool. You can see it here, I think. Nice. Yes. It's going quite well for a tale of porn, cocaine, bibs. A detective chief inspector who supports Arsenal, unfortunately, but the main character is probably a United fan. He would never say that. But yeah, it's going well. People seem to like it. 3 months on. I don't know why. You know, whenever I mention those 3 words, seems to get a similar reaction.
Exactly.
Well, it's a low-key autobiography, Jamie.
You know what? That's the beauty of fiction. You just make everything up.
Sweet. Well, if you want to check that out, link in the description below. A great book. Time for the debate. So Mourinho, of course, having a bit of a turbulent season at Manchester United. Mac, I am going to start with you. Will he be backed in January? Should he be backed? Is it a good thing? Come on, Adam. Give me your thoughts, buddy.
Now, whether the story about will he be backed, I genuinely can't answer that. The sounds coming out of the club at the moment and the briefings they seem to have given the press seem to suggest that there's money that's been made available for Jose Mourinho to spend, and that would be the right thing to do. But from my perspective, I look at it and I think that's a load of cobblers, because it just seems to be like pointless. Why didn't they make this money available to him in the summer? We had, yes, it was a difficult summer to do business in, but we had so long to prepare for that summer. That money would have been available then. It's not like it's just popped up now. Why didn't they give it to him then at the start of the season when we had a fresh slate to work from? It seems to me that the club, again, are showing that they are reactive to things rather than proactive to things. They have now seen that, oh, he was right, our defence isn't good enough. And I don't think the reason that we're sitting where we are in the league is purely down to our defence, by the way, but that is a big part of it. And I think they've seen that now and they're thinking, oh, this could cost us our top 4 spot, Champions League football. We need to act. And it looks like if they give him money, who are they going to be able to get? Who can you get? As he talks about Rafael Varane, this guy, that guy, this guy. It's January. It's even worse than last summer to do business. I don't think we're going to sign anyone in January. I'll be honest with you. I think we'll see a similar thing with the summer, similar thing with other January windows.
So let's move on to Jamie. Obviously, you wrote an article in The Guardian saying that Mourinho will be handed £100 million. Is that something that you think would be good for Manchester United, given their stance? Obviously, you spoke about how they didn't think Jerome Boateng and Harry Maguire would upgrade the centre-backs. Now they want a centre-back. Is that the right thing, Jamie?
Yeah, well, it's good that you mentioned that part there, because that's the caveat. It's the same situation it was in the summer. It's not, here's £100 million, and there's not going to be any kind of, if you like, oversee on Mourinho's choice. Now, obviously, fans might not like that. He's the manager. Personally, I think, I kind of agree with that. What's the point of having a manager if he's not going to be allowed to manage? But what I'm trying to say is that's the big caveat here. So it's got to be for the right deal, which is kind of what it is what the view was in the summer. So they would say at United, the money was there, but Boateng's a good example. Maguire, yeah, both those players, we didn't think they were any better than Smalling, Lindelof, Bailly. And those last 2 names are interesting because they're 2 centre-backs that Mourinho signed. So therefore, if you sign those 2, why aren't they playing well enough? And you could then look at Lindelof and say, oh, he's doing well this season, so maybe that faith. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just telling you what the view is at the club. So when it comes to January, it'll be the same situation. Do I think it's a good thing? Yeah, I do, because he is the manager, and you do need at least 2 players. You'd probably say 4, but if you could it's a big if. But if you can get 2 in January, then great.
Steve, what are you thinking? Are you thinking this is setting Mourinho up to maybe fail again in January, given the lack of funds over the summer? Is that going to happen again, where there's some promise of money and it not actually come down? Of course, Jamie mentioned Jerome Boateng not fitting the profile. Do you think there's other players out there that could fit the profile and would be good to improve this Manchester United squad? And would you give Mourinho the backing?
It's almost like it's a non-article, really. Sorry, Jamie. It's like the money was there in the summer,
here, Steve. Come on,
now
man.
It's there in January. It's not that Jamie's not doing his job, and he is. But it's almost like it's almost not worth reporting on if what he's saying is true. It's like the money was there in the summer, it'll still be there in January. If what he's saying is right, I'm sure it is. Then if it's got to fit a certain profile for the club, then we're just moonwalking into disaster again. There's no need for this. You've got to let the manager manage the football team. Jose Mourinho delivers titles if you back him, and you have to put a lot aside in terms of principles, desires, what you might want to see in terms of youth football coming through. But he delivers you titles if you back him. You don't sign Jose Mourinho as your manager and then ask him to be like this manager or like this manager. You get Jose Mourinho and you back him to the hilt. You don't try and negotiate with him and be like, well, what about we have this? No, I want that. That's what I want. If Jose gets that, he's relatively happy, and he'll deliver you titles. Now, I don't know if United are going to go back in for people that are never interested in us. I mean, Jamie mentions Varane again. The sound was that Varane was someone that we would never get. Why are we not looking a bit closer to home? I think
we'll talk about signings a little bit later on, though, Steve. What about you looking at, is there going to be anything left to play with in January? Look, we're going to be out of the Premier League title race. You've probably got the Champions League,
at the end of the
FA Cup.
We're going to be out of the title race.
Football doesn't go just from August to May, right? Football is something that goes on forever. Like everybody that we signed this summer doesn't just play for us this season. We also get them next season. So even if we've knackered up this season, and I think it'd be fair to say that we have, work for next season starts now. Everything that we've got and everything that we can put into play, that starts right now. That starts next week, last week, January, whenever it is. It rolls in. Momentum is a big thing in football. And even with a summer break, you can still have momentum that carries through from the previous season. So it doesn't matter whether there's anything to play for now. We should be doing what the best thing is for Manchester United in the medium to long term all the time. So whether we go into the market and get them, happy days.
Yeah, I think it's a process, isn't it? And I think that's what you speak about. And I think with what Jamie's articles mentioned, that 100 million was there in the summer, is still going to be there in January. But let's move on to, can January signings actually work? Over a number of recent windows, United have signed some players, of course, Alexis Sanchez, the swap deal with Henrik Mkhitaryan. But we've seen previously before the likes of Vidic, Evra being great signings for Manchester United. So, Mac, is the question to you, can they work? Will they work? Is it worth bringing a player in now halfway through the season?
Based on, obviously, a lot of our players that we've signed in January don't usually go on to do great things in that season that they're signing. Our last January signing still hasn't pulled up any trees and, looks like a player that wants to get out of here as quickly as possible. They can work if they're the right signing, but this is what we're going to hear again all January. The right player isn't available. It's difficult to do business in January. The money's there, but we can't get him, and it's just going to be the same old with Manchester United. Seem to go in complete cycles and cycles and cycles.
With one of those, obviously, cycles we got recently, Anthony Martial back in the team, back scoring goals, massively affecting games. In terms of, Sanchez, we look at that signing didn't quite work because Martial was in really good form in that period as well, and then Sanchez came in. So are you on that sort of fence where you're going to be jumping off that it doesn't work, and Man United maybe should keep the squad they've got at the moment, or do they go out?
No, because if we go out and sign Harry Maguire or a miracle happened and we sign Raphael Varane, just because we sign him in January, that doesn't mean they're going to fail as a player. It might mean that they take longer to bed in, and it might mean that first 5 months of their United career between January and May isn't great, and it's just a settling in period for them. We've seen what Jose's done with other players in terms of settling in into teams as well. So it might be pointless in terms of this season, like Steve said, but there's a long-term picture. And that's why it's a little bit frustrating to me, because we don't ever seem to be looking at the bigger picture here at Manchester United. It always seems to be one of reacting and not being proactive. And it's just frustrating to watch. Like, we're badly run at the moment. If we had anybody that could help run the club with Ed Woodward alongside him, we would be able to utilise the massive funds that we have and actually see a benefit of them. Because at the moment, we don't.
Jamie, in terms of that sort of, there's been some murmurings in the press around a director of football coming in to support Ed Woodward in that position. Do you think if United were to act on that now, maybe bring a director of football in and look to act on what he wants in terms of the market, that could help United in terms of sort of like the back 6 months of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam's talking rightly there about the bigger picture and maybe not being looked at. Maybe the director of football is a move towards that. So it's like an overview position. Obviously, it matters who the manager is, but there should be a continuity in terms of the kind of, player you're getting in the kind of football in the United way. Just to mention Varane, article of mine mentioned him as an example of who they would have bought in the summer, who they would have pushed the boat out for if they felt it would improve the squad. So I'm not saying he's back on the table in January. I was using that as an example of, they will push the boat out if they can get a proper, what they'd consider a proper centre-back or a forward. But the director of football, it's got to be the right appointment. I'll tell you what, if that happens to be the wrong appointment, I don't think it will be, but if it happens to be the wrong appointment, then you've got to start asking questions of people like Woodward, because it's going to be crucial, isn't it? To show what I mean, if you were to get in, Roy Hodgson or someone like that, who, in my opinion, is anti-football as director of football, and then you've blown the whole idea. I'm not saying that will happen, but you understand the point I'm making. It's crucial to get it right.
I'll tell you someone who's anti-football.
I think it's got to be one of those situations, like you're saying, that matches the style of Manchester United. Look, what is United? Attractive football. That director of football has to have that similar mindset and ideology on players. But going back to our question, Steve, can the signings work at Manchester United this January? Is it going to be a Sanchez or is it going to be a Vidic?
When you look historically around world football, and Premier League generally signs more people in January than anybody else, because of the riches involved in the league and how intense the league is versus some of the other leagues around Europe. January signings, if they're big, generally don't come off too well. And I'm thinking Fernando Torres was a January signing, Andy Carroll, January signing. Those bigger profile January signings don't tend to happen. Famously, Vidic and Evra didn't quite work out in that first couple of months. Really took a little bit of time to bed in, but there are some other January signings that pick up really well, and you look lower in the league and you find loads of examples of that, where there's players that have come in January for a specific need and helped out. I think United have got a specific need. I think United need an absolute leader at centre half, and even if you're looking short term on that, people will say, oh, why aren't we buying 20, 21-year-olds? Well, we've got a lot of really good young players in the academy that get their future blocked by signing players like that. I don't care about resale value, and actually fans don't care about resale value. Fans care about the here and now, if we're being honest with ourselves. And if you look at some of the overreaction to stuff, fans care about right now. So if we got in someone that was 32, 33, but they did a job for us, I don't think people would be really asked. One signing that did work, even though it wasn't a proper signing, but it was a loan that came in, was Henrik Larsson. So I think that you could have players that can come in and make a massive impact, even though on paper you're like, I don't really think we need that guy, but comes in and makes a massive difference. The manager's got to be allowed to bring in that sort of player if he deems it fit. So whether it's a short-term appointment, someone that's a couple of £1 million, just some to bolster the squad and change the dynamic in there a little bit, a real leader, because I think United massively lack leadership. I think that'd be a big thing for us, but I don't think you can just paint all signings that happen in January the same brush, the same way you can't paint all signings in the summer with the same one.
So let's go straight into it, Steve, then. If you had £100 million, which players would you sign in January for Manchester United and why? You talk about a leader, you talk about a centre-back. Is that top of your list?
Top of my list, Toby Alderweireld. I know we wanted him hard last summer. We couldn't get a deal done because he's supposedly too old, doesn't fit this profile. Well, Spurs are in a little bit of a financial pickle at the moment, it seems. So let's turn the heat up on him a little bit. Let's offer him a load of dough. Let's get Toby Alderweireld in. Don't care if he's available for the Champions League. The league is our bread and butter, and that's where he will be eligible to play. So let's get Toby Alderweireld in. And I think we also need balance on the right-hand side. And I would go with someone a bit younger there. And I would go with someone that's proven, but is definitely more of a player for the future. And that would be like Federico Chiesa from Fiorentina on that right-hand side. So a right winger in Chiesa and Toby Alderweireld. And I'm sure there'll be a couple of players out the door, which might, if I go over the 100 million a little bit, I'll recoup it by selling Fellaini.
Sorry, Steve, we can't do that, unfortunately. We're going to have to reject that notion. Man United will never be selling Marouane Fellaini until he retires. So let's go back to Jamie. You mentioned Rafa Varane being a player that, you see as maybe a profile for Manchester United at centre-half. Is there anyone else that you'd maybe take as well with Rafa Varane, or any other centre-backs or midfielders? What would you do with 100 million quid if you had it right now in your back pocket?
I think you need a centre-back and another player who can score a hatful of goals, because your goal scoring is phenomenally low. I think, is it 17 or something in the league? It's just ridiculously low. Lukaku's dried up. Doesn't seem to be Rashford at the moment anyway. Maybe it's to do with the manager. We can get into that. I don't know. So yeah, I would go for Alderweireld for the centre-back is the one, because I think he can be got. I think he would go to United. The point Steve makes is pretty good about, the stadium being a bit of a cash. It's taking away a lot of cash. So I think they always say, "Oh, Daniel Levy's difficult to deal with," but I think if you're any good at it, you should be. You've had a couple of players out there, Carrick and Berbatov. Now, in terms of a goal scorer, it's a difficult one because who can you actually get? Is Martial by then going to be? Because I think he's now scored the most goals since Rooney left, in the post-Ferguson era. He's overtaken Mata. So can it be him? Because I look around. I was thinking about this because obviously I knew this was going to come, but I don't see a player. Maybe Adam or Steve can come up with a player who you think you could get. There's a difference between saying, right, let's get Messi, but you're not going to get him.
Someone like Arnautovic, maybe. Someone that can be happy to be a rotations, not going to want to be first team all the time, but could come in and do a job.
I think you need someone who's in the team all the time, who's scoring loads, like Sterling for City. That's a good example for me. If someone like him, Rashford really should be that player, or Martial. And that's why I'm mentioning Martial especially, because I think Martial, for me, I don't know whether you gents agree, Martial seems to be more at it than Rashford this season and probably is a better player. I don't know whether you'd agree on that. And maybe this is his time. Hilariously enough, Martial, I think we all know, Mourinho wanted out the door. The club said no to that, and maybe that was the right decision. So it's interesting how these figures go around.
It is interesting. Again, a goal scorer. Mario Mandzukic was one that was linked with in the summer to be a replacement for Lukaku, but maybe that's not the right way to go. Mac, I know you're a big Anthony Martial fan, so I don't think you're going to sign a left winger with this £100 million. But who are you going to go with? Are you going to go centre-back? Are we all going centre-back? Or do you think there's something else needed?
Anthony Martial fan is just common sense. Can I just say that? Anybody that watches football, I agree. Anybody that watches Manchester United should be an Anthony Martial fan because he's one of our best players. So let's just get that out there. It's not like I'm his agent and I just rep him every day.
Got the big scarf for you, Matt. Next time you come in, we'll give you that, buddy, for the fan club. But no, who do you think players-wise? The player that I was going to bring up, Nemanja Matic. Is he too slow in midfield? Is there a placement that you feel that could be brought in to maybe get a little bit of tempo at the base of midfield, Mac? What are you saying?
I mentioned this in my review about Nemanja Matic the other day after the game against Everton. I do feel sorry for him a little bit. I look at him and I kind of see what I saw in Lukaku a week or two ago. Someone that's just looking at their manager, asking to be dropped, asking to be given a week or two out of the spotlight, out of the firing line. Because look, Nemanja Matic is a very good player on his day. But what we're seeing from him is someone that's being played week in, week out, regardless of form, regardless of performance, regardless of anything. And he's suffering for it. He's awful at the moment. He's so bad in that midfield. And it could possibly be where everything is slowing down for us when we're trying to shift from defence to attack. In terms of replacing him, I agree with Steve and what Jamie mentioned in terms of Toby Alderweireld being a big possibility this January transfer, because apparently, and I'm sure Jamie can correct me on this if I'm wrong, Alderweireld's available for 25 million next summer. So if that's the case and Spurs need money, they may take 30 million for him in January, 35 million for him in January. And that would be a great move. I know he made the mistake the other day against Feyenoord, but I still think Toby Alderweireld is a man that will come in and improve our defence. When you look at our centre-halves, you look at Smalling, you look at Lindelof, you look at Rojo, Bailey, they're all, on their day, half-decent, very good centre-halves, but not one of them is a leader. Not one of them is going to say, I'll be the main man, you lot can play second fiddle to me and fight for that spot. Not one of them are doing that. And that's why we've not got that stability in our defence, because we've not got one centre-half that's there week in, week out, putting in performances. So if we can get that, I think we then see a partner just develop out of one of those guys on the side. Because I think they are good enough, especially Lindelof and Bailly. I think they're good enough. Smalling has done very well in recent weeks. I say very well. He has glimpses where he's awful, but so there is a partner there for a centre half, and that's seriously all I would look for, because we can't guarantee next summer is Jose Mourinho going to be in this job? Should he be in this job? We can't guarantee that. So what's the point going out and spunking loads of money in January on players that a next manager or even Jose Mourinho might not want in 6 to 12 months?
That's an interesting point. I think centre-backs
and I
that
don't
hole
think
in
anyone's available. Like, who's available?
Well, that's
People will
it. You're going to be spending so much money, and I think that's a fair point, Matt, that, you've all mentioned Toby Alderweireld, and he's the one that was probably going to be cheaper than looking at someone like a Koulibaly. He's going to cost you upwards of 50, 60 million. And like you say, Matt, is the manager going to be there? Is there going to be a new manager? Does he want him? Right, guys, we have got one round left. That is the 30-second round where you've got to summarise your debate into one big, powerful chunk. But before that, we're going to go on a quick ad break. Right, guys, it is time for the 30-second round where you've got to summarise your debate. Should Mourinho be backed? Will he be backed? And who should you sign? It's been friendly so far. It's time to turn up the notch and get it nice and competitive. First up, Stephen Howson, your 30 seconds starts now.
Whether Jose Mourinho's in this job past January or past the summer or even into the distant future, it doesn't matter. Manchester United's squad has got holes in it that need to be replaced. And if you replace those holes sensibly with a leader like Toby Alderweireld, then you're going to leave whoever is in charge next summer in a good job. I would also bring in Federico Chiesa because we'd like balance on that right-hand side. He's one that wouldn't need to play every single game, but he could come in and help out enough for balance and goals and assists to the team.
3,
that's what we need.
2, 1. Excellent. Top quality. 29 seconds on the money. Jamie, it's now your time to shine. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Right, this is quite simple. Mourinho should be backed. He's won a hatful of titles, 4 different countries, European Cups. Needs to be backed. He's the manager. And when I say backed, I mean if it's an Alderweireld and it's going to be 50, even if you can go for 25 in the summer, just do it. Just for once, just do it. It's a statement of intent. In terms of a goal scoring forward, you desperately need, because Lukaku's not getting any and no one else is. It's a bit of a, I have to say, joke. Martial, just put him in the team for the next 10 games and let's see what he can do.
And that's that, unfortunately, Jamie. Your time is done and dusted. But Martial as the goal scoring forward. And
I'm guessing Jamie Jackson's Martial FC as well, yeah?
He's Martial FC as well. So let's go to Martial FC. Mac, you ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's do it.
Jose should be backed, and I would like to see him backed by signing Toby Alderweireld. I don't think we need to be going and signing anybody else, or I don't think we will anyway. The thing for me is I don't expect Jose Mourinho to get back. We won't sign anyone in January, and it'll be same old for Man United.
Jesus, 19 seconds of pure upset talk from Adam McKola. Please get into the comments.
I'm just talking sense. Let's be real.
Hold on.
We've been here over the summer. We've been here last year. Been here every bloody week. The club are leading us up dark alleys and we're not getting anywhere.
So into the comments.
In January, why not just do it in the summer, you knobs?
You make some fair points, Matt. But you stopped on your 19 seconds, buddy. You could have added this as your points.
Spending money. What kind of
unbelievable. That's a reason to like the video. Give Matt a good, happy day. If we get over, let's say 555 likes, let's do that. But in terms of who I think's won the debate today, I'm going to have to go with Stephen Howson. He gives a good argument about a right winger needed. Federico Chiesa, top talent, great dad, good at scoring goals. And of course, Toby Alderweireld, we all agree on that. But it doesn't matter about my opinion. You get your opinions into this poll above me right now. Vote who won the game. Was it Jamie Jackson, or should we say Jamie Paradise, Stephen Howson, or Adam McKola? We've got loads of coverage coming over the next week on Full-Time Devils, of course. Bournemouth versus Manchester United away on the South Coast. But again, Jamie Paradise, talk to me about your book for one last time. That link, of course, is in the description below.
Okay, it's available on Amazon. $2.99 for the ebook. That's less than a coffee. If you like a good story, about a dad double-crossing his son and thinking the best way to get him back is by involving him in a dodgy cocaine bust, have a read.
£2.99 in the description below. Make sure you go and check that out. Thanks again to Stephen Howson, Adam McKola. I've been Statman Dave. See you guys later.